All right, I'm back with Aaron Amin, the hybrid real estate professional. And now we're going to talk about something he's very passionate about. You see so much people right now doing, social media like video, Instagram, TikTok, but Aaron is focusing more on, online writing and why he thinks that's so important. So, Aaron, why don't you tell my audience a little about that?
Sure. So I think I was starting to tell you a little earlier. I started writing every day online back in March of 2022. I joined a writing accountability program, and it was called Ship 30 for 30. And their whole thing is to get people started writing online. And you write 30 different 250 word atomic essays every day for 30 days, and they teach you how to come up with ideas. They teach you how to iterate on one idea and turn it into another. They teach you essentially how to create a whole content engine that you can, ride the momentum and write every single day, which at the time sounded very daunting and a bit overwhelming. I was someone who always enjoyed writing, but I think prior to joining that program, I had written two blog posts in 2 years. So the idea of writing 30 pieces of content in 30 days was very overwhelming. But I joined and I did it, and it felt really good. It felt very clarifying. I didn't write about the same stuff that I write about right now at the time. I wrote about a number of different topics. There was some stuff about psychology. There was some stuff about family. There was some stuff about my day job. I tried a number of different topics just to see what felt good, what felt natural. But at the time, I was already 5 years into my real estate journey. When I finally stumbled on and started writing about that topic, it felt very natural, felt very good. I started to tell some of the stories about when I started and some of the specific lessons I learned. And one of the things about those 250 word atomic essays is it forces you to express one single idea in a very short, concise post. And that exercise by itself really makes you try and boil things down and deliver a lesson in a short punch, if you will. So that was hard. That was a challenge. And one magical thing that I'll say any real estate investor could benefit from is by doing this for the last almost 18 months now, you go back and read and string these things together, and you essentially have the outline for a book. You can, piece together all the different little micro stories you told and really tell your whole journey. So that's been one of the primary benefits. I think it also helps with retention. It helps you really capture your journey as you're going. And just for me, it wasn't really expected that this would become such a huge part of my identity, but I'm really glad that it has. It's borne a lot of fruit for me. And I was sharing before, I'm writing a 7-day email course that's meant to share kind of all the significant steps I took in my journey from 0 to 8 properties, how I've incorporated my career and my day job into my real estate. That's my whole brand. It's the hybrid real estate professional. So really, how you can articulate your own hybrid professional identity and use it to accelerate your real estate. So I've taken all this content. I've been writing it for over a year now, and really, it's just kind of piecing things together and tying it together in a way that flows. And I'm very hopeful that it's going to create a compelling product that a lot of people are going to get value from.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I see so much people doing the video side of it. It's just so interesting and unique that, you're focusing more on the writing side. And one of your tweets got me really intrigued about it. You talked about how you think it's very helpful and useful for real estate investors to, do online writing. So do you remember kind of what your, I guess, points were as far as why it would help real estate investors?
Yeah, so I think, one of the biggest points beyond what I mentioned before about clarifying thoughts, helping with retention and helping you remember. Like if you read something, a nice blog post, or you watch a video, people are watching one of your interviews and, it's a 45-minute thing and they might be taking a couple notes on the side. If they just took 5 minutes at the end of that and said, like, what are the 5 main things or even 3 main things that I learned from that 45 minutes I just spent watching Mark's video? And they wrote that down and filed it away somewhere in a way that they could easily recall. That's going to really solidify the value. You just spent 45 minutes watching something, right? Like, it can either go in one ear and out the other, or you can really try and capture the value. And I think that's one of the primary things. Like, I don't know about, I would imagine most of your viewers watch quite a bit of videos and read quite a bit of content. And it can be a lot to take in, it can be a lot to process. And so I find that even just, for me, I write every day, so I need content every day. So when I take something in, I can encapsulate my understanding of that idea and post it online. Always give credit, of course, if you're taking an idea from someone else, but it can also be a way to even engage with some of these people. Like, there are a lot of folks who write about real estate online and they're very active on Twitter. And if you comment on their posts or if you write something that's thoughtful in response to something they posted, and you credit them, oftentimes you'll end up engaging with these people that, of course, if you were on the sideline and you weren't writing and you weren't coming up with your own points of view, they might not be talking to you. So I think, to me, that is by far the biggest value. Is you and I would not have met if I wasn't writing. There's any of the shows that I've been on, any of the interviews I've done, any of the profiles that people have, I'm very graciously, happy and humbled to have the opportunity to share my story. But nobody would have asked me to do that had I not taken the time to start writing. And so I just think there's a huge networking element to it as well. I think that any real estate investor, regardless of your skill or familiarity with writing, can open doors by taking it on as a habit.
Just be careful with how much you engage with people on Twitter, because my account got suspended today for some reason. I have no idea why, but it looks like it's back up. So I'm glad they didn't even tell me. They just sent me an email saying your account is suspended, and I appealed it and it's under review. So
Your show is
hopefully,
pretty controversial, Mark.
well, I don't think I was insulting anyone, or well, we'll see. We'll see what they reply back to me. But a couple other top things that you pointed out was, let's see, building credibility, as far as that's what's helpful with writing online. So kind of touch on that a little bit.
Sure. So once again, I'm here. I now have a brand that I'm building. I have a newsletter that people subscribe to. I have people that reach out and ask me questions in response to the topics that I write about. I continually share this story about how I built a portfolio of 8 properties over 6 years in 3 states, and continuing to express that message is not me just shouting from the rooftops and bragging. It's me trying to establish that, hey, there is, if I could go back and talk to myself at age 27 when I started this, these are the things I would want to say. And if I wish my 27-year-old self could talk to me now, because I'd have a lot of questions. So I really try and think along those lines. Like, if I was at the beginning and I could ask questions, what would I want the answers to? And so I think by stating, hey, these are my qualifications, these are the things that I've gone through. And I try and be very transparent about the mistakes I've made. I made a lot of them. A lot of them were due to lack of experience, perhaps not necessarily thinking everything through, right? There are things that have happened that, if anything, sharing your mistakes and the lessons you've learned from them gives you more credibility, and it allows other people to avoid mistakes. And I think that's the most important part. But at the end of the day, when you're writing, you're competing for people's attention. You're competing against cat videos and shit posters, pardon my language, right? You're competing against people who are strictly vying for attention's sake. So I try and deliver some sort of value with the things that I tweet and write about in my newsletter. But the only way for people to actually trust and spend time on my content is if they perceive some sort of credibility. And so I think anyone who, even if you have no homes, but you've been spending 6 months reading about real estate and learning all the different fundamentals, you have something to teach to the person who's literally just starting today to take an interest in real estate, right? So if you can identify the people who are a couple steps, years back or even a few months back in the process from where you're at right now, you can deliver credibility and share knowledge that might be valuable to them. So that's what I mean when I say establish credibility, is like kind of take where you're at right now and articulate it in a way that people who might be a couple years behind you will listen to what you have to say and engage with you.
I like what you just said there too about articulate, and that's kind of my favorite point that you kind of mentioned in your tweet was kind of, refined communications and storytelling skills. And I think that, some people are afraid to get in front of the camera and the videos. And I think there's others that they're like, I don't write well, or how do I? So I think it's a different skill set. And I think it's very important that you pointed that out, because I think I would feel more, kind of scared about writing, because for me, that's where I'd be more challenged, I think, in getting in front of a camera. So can you touch on that a little bit?
Sure. Well, Mark, you're natural on the camera, and I got to say, I admire that you took the initiative and started a channel and you do these interviews. And I think, as with anything, the best way to get better at something is to do it. And I've got to admit, I'm not very comfortable in front of the camera in general, but writing has allowed me to be more comfortable because most of what I end up saying is something I've written about. If I was making everything up on the spot and I had never talked about any of these topics before, I had never written about any of them, it would sound like I'm just making everything up and I wouldn't be as comfortable and it would show. And even though I'm not the best public speaker, I do believe that writing helps you refine your thoughts. If you write something down and you read it out loud and it doesn't sound good and it doesn't make sense, you're going to go back and rewrite that sentence and read it out loud again until it does. And when you do that, you become a better speaker, even if you're not on camera all the time, even if you're not out, giving presentations at work. And I have noticed that even though I don't run my own channel, I don't do my own interviews, it has made me a more competent speaker, to the point where now I am at least comfortable enough to come on your show.
You're going to be on TikTok pretty soon too, then.
Who knows? Who knows?
Well, I love this. I love catching up with you. I mean, there's so much good stuff here, good nuggets here, and I think anyone can be super helpful. Like, like I said, I see so much people going down the video and behind the camera route, or getting in front of the camera, and you're going a different route. And there's a lot of people that probably that might suit them better. And like you're saying, you just got to get started. And so if someone wanted to find you now, like let's say your new Instagram, profile, what is it under?
Oh, goodness. I have too many handles now, but my new Instagram, which was just launched last week, is just the Hybrid Real Estate Pro. That's my handle. On Twitter, I am at Aaron Amin, Ameen. And my Substack newsletter is called The Hybrid Real Estate Professional. And you can find it at www.thehybridrealestateprofessional.com. I would say I put the majority of my energy into that newsletter. So if nothing else, it's usually 5 minutes or less every Thursday. It's either a story from my past or a tactic or a tip that I've used, or maybe a software or tool that I've used that accelerated my ability to get to where I am. So that's the number one place I would push people towards if they're interested in learning more.
All right, now the big question: Twitter or Threads?
I post on both, but I should qualify that and say I actually have a virtual assistant that helps me repost everything that I put on Twitter onto Threads. Jury's out. I'm not sure. We'll see what I saw that Twitter is now
Yes,
X. So
yes.
we got to see what Elon does with that and what his new CEO does with that, because I'm not quite sure. Twitter has been an interesting roller coaster these last 9 months, since however long since he took over. And Threads is a pretty, out of the box intuitive experience. So I will be on both, to put it that way.
Yes. I'm still trying to figure I don't know. Right now, I enjoy Twitter a lot better. There's just more engagement. But that was up until they suspended my account. So we'll see if anything happens from that. But hopefully it comes back online. I can get out there again, network. But I'm glad we got to touch base again. And hopefully we can do it again, Aaron.
Absolutely. I'm honored you had me on the show, and thank you again.
Thanks, Aaron.